All right. Hello and good evening, everyone. Tonight we are going to be diving into our reopening plans for the elementary school. But first, if you're looking for interpretation, there is a globe on the bottom of your screen. And if you click on that, you will have access to interpretation.
Hola, bienvenidos a todos. Para los hispanohablantes, los padres de familia que hablan español, queremos decirles que si necesitan interpretación en español, al fondo de la pantalla hay un globo donde dice interpretación o interpretation en inglés. Nomás tienen que imprimir allá y van a estar en el lugar donde todo estará traducido para ustedes en español. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. So tonight we have a number of school leaders that are going to be helping us out and answering questions for you guys. We have Principal Erica McGuire at FMC. We have two teachers, Maria Hadley and Karen Reynolds. We have Superintendent Vanden Heuvel. We have Aaron Fender, who is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. And we have Diane Conger, who's the Director of Student Support Services. So to begin, I think we can all take a deep breath and say, wow, not out of stress or anxiety, but out of just the overall effort that everybody is putting into this, families, students, teachers, the district as a whole. So thank you, and keep it up, because we will get through this and we will do a great job at it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we will go ahead and begin our presentation. So as I said before, this is going to be our elementary reopening for the fall. It is going to look a bit different than normal, but with a lot of hard work and teamwork, actually. We're going to be going ahead and making sure that it works for everyone. So we had a number of stakeholder engagement. We had two parent surveys. We had student surveys, staff survey, meetings with ELAC and the governance councils for our sites, and weekly site committee meetings to help us build schedules. And again, the things that we're going to be presenting, some of it is still being negotiated between the HADA Teachers Union and the district. So just keep that in mind as we're moving through this. And for this piece, Erica McGuire, would you like to go ahead and take the next two slides?
Yeah. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our reopening town hall webinar. And I just wanted to preface before I kind of get into the slides there, that we will be checking Facebook comments and answering your questions. We also will get to questions at the end. So Jeff, if you want to go forward to that slide. So distance learning will look very different than it did in the spring. And so the state, in the state budget, SB 98, really laid out what the expectations for distance learning were. And so we wanted to use some of this infogram to share with you kind of what the expectations are and what you can expect for your students. So in SB 98, daily live interaction is required. It's an opportunity for students to connect with their teachers and with each other. And we'll talk more about what that's going to look like at our schools a little bit later. Of course, we have to track attendance. In addition to attendance, that's a student attending a Zoom, whether one-on-one with a whole class, a small group, but we also have to track their participation. Did they participate in those whole class activities? Did they do their independent work as well as their whole class work? So we have to track both of those things. So different than the spring, if your student is going to miss a day, they have to be called in absent if they're not going to be checking in with their teacher, doing schoolwork for that day. Additionally, the state set up a minimum number of instructional minutes. So these are synchronous, both again, live on, say, a Zoom with their teacher, or asynchronous, doing work in Google Classroom, doing a reading assignment, etc. And so for our kindergartners, that's 3 hours per day. For our students in grades 1st through 3rd, that's 3 hours and 50 minutes. And for 4 through 12, that's 4 hours per day. And so again, that's synchronous, both on their computer with the teacher or asynchronous work that's been assigned. Thanks, Jeff. Next slide. So we have to continue to serve our students in need. So that's students with 504 plans and IEPs. We'll go into that later, again, how we're going to provide those services, but of course that we have to continue to provide those services and accommodations to those students. The state didn't set a requirement for the number of minutes of live synchronous instruction, however, did encourage schools to do it daily as much as possible. We have to, and the district is in the midst of writing a tiered re-engagement plan. So again, preventing students from becoming disengaged from school activities for 3 or more days a week. So you will see a lot more, as you saw in the spring, but a lot more contact from the school if your student is not engaged. Checking families' connectivities. So we are distributing Chromebooks to all of our students who would like one on Monday and Tuesday of next week. From 11 to 4 on Monday here at FMC, starting at 10:30 at HES, and all day on Tuesday for families who need one. Families who need internet and have internet connectivity issues should also contact the school about potential Wi-Fi hotspots. And then of course we have to keep weekly engagement records. That's again showing how engaged students are in their schoolwork. So we can go on, next slide. And back to Jeff.
Thank you, Principal McGuire. So I'm going to ask Maria Hadley, who is a teacher at HES campus, to kind of run through what to expect as a parent and as a student at HES campus.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to remind you that the schedule is being negotiated at this time. So I'm going to give you an idea of what it might look like without any specific details at this time. Each day will start with a check-in from the teacher to the whole class, and your child will be expected to be at that meeting. After that, there'll be a breakout group for language arts instruction. The teacher will have 3 groups for about 30 minutes each, or they may structure it a little bit differently and have a whole group lesson and then a different amount of time for breakout. There'll be a break, and then after that, there'll be small groups for math or whole group instruction with some breakout time for small groups. And then there'll be a lunch break. And in the afternoon or at some point during the day, there'll be 30 minutes for ELD. The children will receive Spanish instruction twice a week for 30 minutes. And there will be some kind of reading intervention or math intervention groups scheduled with the teacher and students that need that. The students will work either with their teacher live or on assignments that their teachers have given them for about 3 hours and 50 minutes a day. And then there will be office hours when the teacher is available to answer questions from a child or a parent within the school day. I think I covered everything.
Thank you, Mrs. Hadley. And so we're trying to run a school day as closely to what it would be like in person. So an in-person school day starts at 8 o'clock and it ends at 2:20. We're not saying that you're going to be on Zoom from 8 to 2:20, but there should be some sort of engagement or activity that you are experiencing, whether it not be synchronous or asynchronous. So whether it be face-to-face via Zoom or doing some online learning or independent work throughout the course of the day.
Perfect. So Fitch Mountain campus, first I just want to start, I would be remiss if I didn't just take a minute. You know, we spent all summer coming up with our plans for reopening, and much of that was thinking we were going to come back in a hybrid model, which is what we had hoped for. So I just need to take an opportunity to thank, you know, every site had a reopening working group. at Fitch Mountain campus. Ours included Karen Reynolds, Stephanie Fife, Lisa Phipps, Danette McCormick, Jenny Lopes, and Erica Drew, as well as Ali Alcacer. And I just need to thank them for their commitment and the numerous number of numerous volunteer hours that they gave throughout the summer. And when we had to make the shift to full distance learning, they did that. And I think we came up with a schedule that's going to meet the needs of our students. What I wanted to start kind of the first before I hand it over to Karen Reynolds to talk is just to share that all of the choices that we're making, in addition to being responsive to public health and county and state guidelines, we're also looking at what the stakeholders in our community, both parents and teachers, staff and students. And so this first, which brings me to this, we sent out the survey asking families to make a selection of their instructional model in terms of if they wanted to, we're going to plan to stay in distance learning for at least half the year. We weren't sure what those numbers would look like, but it ended up that nearly half of students in each grade level made that selection. So we did decide to split, to keep the specialist model, and one specialist team at each grade level has been designated to stay in distance learning if we should come back, and the other would come back to school. So I wanted to make that announcement and share that classes will be posted on Monday before I turn it over to Karen to talk about what a student's day may look like.
Can I interrupt just for a second to reiterate the interpretation thing?
Yes.
Otra vez quiero decir, si ustedes necesitan traducción o interpretación al español, nomás ahí al fondo de la pantalla hay un globo donde dice interpretación o interpretation en inglés. Nomás tienen que imprimir allá y van a estar en el lugar donde todo va a estar traducido al español. Gracias.
Thank you, Chris. And so Mrs. Reynolds, if you want to talk.
Good evening. Yes, so I'm going to do similar to what Maria Hadley did and go over a typical day. You'll see that there's a 45-minute whole class meeting with instruction. That will be at least 4 days a week that we'll meet with our students for 45 minutes and also do some check-in and then also an instructional time. And then after that, we will break into small groups. We will each, I'm an ELA specialist, so I'll be meeting with 3 reading groups. And then the math teacher will meet with the other class for 3 math groups. And then, so the students will see me twice a week for their reading group and the math teacher twice a week for the reading group, or their teachers. We will also have ELD for 45 minutes, 4 days a week with their ELA, well, with their homeroom teacher. The other students that aren't in ELD will be doing Spanish for 45 minutes twice a week. When they are not, and of course we will also be doing the RSP intervention in small groups or individual. We are using Google Classroom as our platform at Fitch Mountain campus. So your student will be receiving assignments posted through Google Classroom that they will go to on a daily basis and check that. And then they will also be required to be doing a certain amount of time of Lexia when they're not with their teacher, or ST Math or another program that we're using. So I think that is it in a nutshell. Oh, and we will be available for office hours as well. Time to meet with students that come on and need extra help, questions, parents. So that'll be during the school hours. And we will also have time each week to be checking our emails during school hours and responding to emails, making phone calls when necessary, and also checking their work and see what they've turned in through Google Classroom and have they been on Lexia. And then we'll be making calls or emails, sending emails if they are not doing that, or to say, hey, they've been doing great. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karen. And one of the things we didn't include here that I just wanted to share as well is that we are putting together a school supply school supplies that all students will get. Teachers are putting together their wish list for that now. And so all students, they'll be given out that first full week of school. We will communicate with families about that pickup time. But what it's looking like, teachers are wanting a whiteboard and some notebooks, perhaps some pencils and highlighters. So every student will be getting that. In addition, it was a question that came up ahead of time that I just wanted to address. Speaking of that, we will continue to send home or have opportunities for families to pick up some paperwork here at Fish Mountain campus. We use Benchmark Advance, and the students have the text for close reading, the booklets that we really feel are important to have in students' hands. They could do the reading online, but really want to give them those. And so those will be given out every 3 weeks, in addition to potentially some other pencil paperwork that teachers will have them do. It won't be the amount that they got in the spring. Much more of it will be online, but we will continue to do that packet distribution every 3 weeks, as well as providing those kind of basic school supplies. And then I'm sorry, one last thing, because I just saw a question. I am trying to monitor some questions as they come in on Facebook. So class lists will be posted in our office window on Monday the 17th. However, also on that day, they will be visible in the parent portal. So as all of you know, we've moved to online registration through Aries. And on that day, we will make those class assignments and teacher assignments visible to parents. So you can log in or you can come here and find posted class lists. All right, thanks, Jeff. We can move on to the next. Actually, I think I was going to start talking about this, and then I'm going to pull in Diane Conger, our Director of Student Support Services. But a lot of the questions that we got were related to providing special education services. So just know that we are going to continue to provide all the services that we would in person, but of course in a virtual format. So whether that be students getting OT support or speech and language, or work with one of our ed specialists in specialized academic instruction. And so that might look, it'll probably look very much like hopefully it did in the spring, in terms of students getting either one-on-one or very small group with their case manager and their special education teacher. Progress monitoring of goals will be done online. Of course, our IEP meetings will be done virtually via Zoom. And then just regular contact from the case manager in terms of communicating with families about progress and how students are doing. And kind of working with the general education teachers on accommodations. And Diane, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and sharing.
Sure. So I would say, first of all, glad to be here, excited about the new school year. And the one thing that I can say that is probably a little more, well, it's a lot different than it was in the spring, is that each education specialist or each special education teacher will be reaching out to families very shortly. Like, it needs to be done within the next 30 days, but it will likely occur within the next 2 weeks, and go over more specifically how we're going to address the goals, how we're going to meet those service minutes for each individual student, not special ed as a whole. So they have a lot of work ahead of them, but in the meantime, I would really, for families of students that happen to have IEPs, I would really encourage you to reach out to the principal, reach out to your case manager. Don't let your questions go unanswered, because we're here to help and we're getting guidance every day. And I just want to make sure that you guys feel supported.
Thank you very much, Diane.
Sure.
So I wanted to, before we move into questions, just to share a couple of other kind of important notes. And actually, Superintendent Vanden Heuvel, do you want to speak to, because I know it has to go to the board, about kind of the decision to stay in distance learning until what date?
Yeah, so we'll be taking to the board a resolution this Thursday asking them to approve us staying in distance learning through September. So September 30th, I actually said the 31st in the high school town hall and realized there's only 30 days in September. So we, it is incredibly difficult for us as an organization to pivot and pivot back and keep moving. And so we want to create some stability for our educators, for our students, and for our families. I think it's highly unlikely, given what I see in terms of COVID cases in Sonoma County and the likelihood of us getting off the state watch list. I don't see it happening prior to then, but we want to just set that date as a starting point, just to be able to get school up and started and have a degree of stability as a result. So September 30th for distance learning for sure, and stay tuned to see what happens in terms of coming back in person after that.
Thank you, Chris. I also wanted to mention we are partnering, and hopefully you will start to see much more information about this, getting it on social media. It'll be in our school newsletter, but we are partnering with the City of Healdsburg and Corazon to provide distance learning support and enrichment for students, for families who have to get back to work. And so that is at Foss Creek Community Center. It will be opening up at 7:30 in the morning and go till 5:30. If I'm incorrect in that, Aaron Fender, please correct me. But all of that registration and sign up is happening through the city. So you can contact the Foss Creek Community Center directly. We can make that connection for you. So you can always call the office and we can get you that number and provide that information about that program. But we encourage families to make those connections now if you do need that support when school starts. So Jeff, are we ready to look at, I can pull up some questions unless you had anything else.
No, I think you definitely hit on a couple of points that I missed, but they will be happening at HES as well, as far as distribution of materials, distribution of Chromebooks, posting class lists. All of that is definitely going to be happening simultaneously, as close to FMC schedule as possible. We understand that we have siblings at both sites, so we definitely want to accommodate and make sure that our schedules are running parallel. So I just wanted to mention that.
Muted myself. Take a look at some questions and ask some folks to answer. So Vicky asked if this PowerPoint will be emailed or available. So we will be, it's a Facebook Live, so it will live on Facebook. We are also, I should have mentioned at the very beginning, recording this. It is also, the Spanish interpretation is being recorded as well. Both will be posted on our website with links sent in the newsletter, and then it will live on Facebook as well. So respond to that question. So maybe Jeff, if you want to take this one, will there be choices for times for small group instruction? And when will families know when their students' small group instruction time will be?
So this is going to take us a little bit of time to get up and running. Like Principal McGuire said, we are going to be focusing on kind of like getting tech in the hands of our families, making sure they're connected, making sure students know how to access things like Google Classroom, using a Chromebook, things like that. I mean, the recommendation that I'm giving to my teachers is that, I mean, they are the professionals and they are going to need time to kind of see where our students are at and develop those small groups. If you do have, an extenuating circumstance that you would like to communicate to your teacher, I would say feel free. But the groups are going to be made up based on, specific needs of our students. And we are going to do our best to try to accommodate, but we want to make sure that we're giving our students the best kind of, platform for learning. And typically that is with, groups of like-leveled students.
All right, thank you. We got a question ahead of time that was submitted. And I think I'll ask Aaron Fender to answer this question. So the question was quoted, what does this statement mean? Schools will team up with parents and teachers to create a learning, continuity, and attendance plan by September 30th, replacing schools' usual annual planning documents. Aaron, would you mind answering that question?
Sure. So we, actively planning, obviously, right now with teachers and other folks who've been answering surveys. Over the next month, we'll be engaging our governance councils, our ELAC and DLAC, and codifying both what we're doing now and we hope to do through the rest of the school year into the learning continuity and attendance plan. This is taking the place of the LCAP this year. There will be no LCAPs in the state of California, but rather trying to document the planning process that's happened over the summer and what we envision for the rest of the year. We're given a short timeline. This has to be approved by our board by September 30th and delivered to the state, as well as our county office. So it is going to be, we also will be completing the single plans for student achievement in each of the schools, also on a very quick timeline. So watch for opportunities to engage, likely be at least one survey once we get school up and running here, and then presentations at the board meeting in September.
Thank you, Erin. So this question, and perhaps not to put anybody on the spot, but Maria or Karen, if you want to maybe talk about some of the things teachers are thinking of, and of course, knowing that we are addressing and figuring out how to do these. Jessica asked, is there going to be an opportunity for some sort of individual assessments for students to gauge where they are? And how could that look virtually? I know we talked about this earlier today, so maybe Maria or Karen, if you want to jump in and just say some of the things we're thinking.
I will start. We're trying to figure that out too, but we're thinking that we would still like to use the STAR reading and STAR math. We would probably do that in some form where they would be on in a meeting with us, and then we'd have them open that window and take that assessment while we're monitoring them while they're taking the assessment, and then use that information to form groups and hopefully know better where they are, since we can't be with them in person.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that possibly at our site, we might do some fluency assessments one-on-one with students online.
Thank you both. So another question that just came in, and I can talk a little bit about what we're thinking here at FMC, and understand that our teachers have been working an awful lot, but their actual first work day back is this Thursday. So we're doing a lot, as much with teachers as we can, but we are going to get together on Thursday this week to really do this planning. So Samantha asked in terms of reviewing what to expect for the first week of school. So I can speak to Fitch Mountain, and perhaps Jeff can talk about what they're thinking there. But we know we're attempting to get as many of the devices out as we can Monday and Tuesday, so students have them for the first day of school with Clever badges, so they can get logged in. But we still know that we're going to have some issues with getting kids connected and making sure they know where to go and how to get there on their computer. So on that first day of school on Wednesday, you'll see your students having whole class meetings set up to meet the teacher, do some get to know you activities, and then the teachers will take the rest of the day to attempt to connect to all the families and the students who they didn't see that morning. Thursday and Friday, the same thing. They will not start right away on those first couple of days, that Thursday and Friday, in their small groups. They will have whole group meetings and activities. They'll be assigned individual work to do, and then the teachers will take time to connect with those students who didn't join and check on their connectivity issues. Again, mostly not about Wi-Fi, but more about how to log in, how to get to Google Classroom, how to navigate where the invite to the Zoom meeting is or the Google Meet meeting is. So, and then we expect to start our small groups, and for students to have their schedules in terms of what time their small group meeting is on that following Monday, that first full week of school. Of course, you'll hear directly from your student's teacher, but that's what we're planning, generally speaking, right now for our first week.
Can I add to that those groups will be formed, but they will probably change after we have some assessments done.
Yeah, thank you both for that. So HES is going to be very similar to that, and we understand the importance of getting students and families comfortable with being online and learning virtually. So we're definitely going to be taking it slow to go fast as far as team building, meeting your teacher, getting to kind of understand the whys or the why nots as far as if someone did or did not attend Zoom. We also want to take some time to make sure that we're understanding what the families need as far as materials, so that we're getting the materials that students may or may not need ready so that they can go home, whether that be workbooks, paper-based learning, all the way down to your basic pencils, scissors, that kind of thing.
So we have a question from CRC that I want to respond to, but I might ask for others to weigh in as well, because I'm honestly, the question is about, students having an opportunity to meet their teacher one-on-one, in person, socially distanced, and a couple of things I would say to that, and again, please, especially, Chris, Aaron, Diane, jump in. We can't, the biggest problem with that is, one, I'd want to leave it, to teachers in terms of, connecting with your student's teacher. But more than that, I think that at this point, we cannot have students on campus. So in terms of having them on campus, even to meet the teacher, yes, they can come if they're with a parent to pick up their Chromebook. But I do not believe, just being honest, and I would welcome others' input, that we can set up any sort of student-teacher meetings in person at this time.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Secondly, it's a negotiation teachers union, and I can express it. Actually, I'm not even sure if it would be legal under the state waivers guidelines right now. So I don't think we can have in-person meetings right now with students on campus and their teachers. And it's unfortunate. I mean, we all lamented, the teachers included. They desperately want to have kids here face to face. We just need it to be safe first.
Okay, thank you for that. And so I see a comment about did HES share yet? So just so everybody knows, if you joined us late because we got started right at 6 o'clock, you can rewatch the Facebook Live, and both campuses have shared their schedules, what it's going to look like. Somebody else asked how long are the classes? So in general, at FMC, our small groups, whole group and small groups, are going to be about 45 minutes in length. HES are going to be about 30 minutes in length. So in terms of responding to that question, and I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions that I have not responded to. Question that just came in is how many students will be in each distance learning only classroom in 4th and 5th grades? So our 4th and 5th grade classes, I can't speak to the distance only versus the in-class. They're all just about even, but the classes range from 22 to 24 students in 4th and 5th grade in all of the classes. All right. So I don't see other questions coming in. Jeff, do you have any other comments to share?
Yeah, I think some folks might be wondering if we are also going to be looking at the distance learning classrooms versus the in-person classrooms, if and when we are coming back. And that is going to be the case. We're waiting on a few more parent surveys. Right now, they do look somewhat balanced just as far as the class size goes. And so I just wanted to make sure that our families knew at HES that is also going to be happening.
Thanks, Jeff. And I saw, some new questions came in, and sorry, Matt, that I missed that before. So can you address TK? And so will the TK schedule follow the plan that you talked about for kinder?
Yes, so TK is also shares the same number of minutes, both asynchronous and synchronous learning, of 180 throughout the course of the day. And I know that our kinder team and TK teacher, Ms. Anderson, have been working tightly together to make sure that, the continuity is happening. TK and kindergarten, they sometimes mesh together anyway. And so this is, it's going to be the same as that.
Okay, and then we got a question about requesting students being placed in the same class. If you have a request, either email Jeff or myself as soon as possible. We are finishing class assignments in the next day or so, so please make sure to email us as soon as possible. We can't ever guarantee requests, especially given the circumstances that we're facing right now. And another question, HES students, oh, good question. So Jeff, are you posting your teacher class assignments on Monday as well?
Yes, that is.
They have changed from what was in Aries last week.
It may have changed, yes. A lot has been changing, as everybody knows, from day to day, from week to week. But our goal is to have our class list posted on the front entrance of HES, as well as through the parent portal in Aries.
All right, and Aaron asked if every student will be on at 8 a.m. I know at FMC schedule, yes, the morning meetings in every class are starting at 8 a.m. for, oh, I see Aaron Fender, thank you for checking in. So yeah, HES campus is doing a quick check-in. We're doing a 45-minute whole class meeting. It's gonna be whole group opportunity for a check-in and also some whole group instruction. I'm looking at questions. So Erica Drew asked if parents can join their students on the first meetings with teachers to learn Google Classroom and how to log into meetings. Is this welcome? We know that parents are often in distance learning with their students and helping them get logged in. You're always welcome to do that. It is an opportunity, however, in those first couple of days for the class to get to know each other. So I would just say in terms of giving the students an opportunity to get to know their classmates and their teacher. But of course, you are welcome there as well. If you have questions in terms of logging in or need help, please do contact your teacher separately, individually. So I know questions are going to keep coming. Please reach out to Jeff or myself. Send us an email. As Director Conger said and talked about, students who have IEPs. If you have a question, we don't want questions lingering, and so please reach out, call us or email us, and we will get back to you. If there are questions, that we didn't get to answer here, then please send us an email with those. And we thank you very much. And Jeff, if you want to close out.
Yes, thank you very much for attending tonight. We understand that there are going to be a number of questions, especially if things are, as they kind of roll out. And we look forward to continuing to serve at Healdsburg Elementary School.
All right, thanks everyone. And thanks again to the panelists and families and parents watching. Thank you very much. We'll respond to the Facebook comments and I think we're good.